In 1961, Earl Hamner Jr. published his book Spencer's Mountain. 2 years later, a film of the same name was produced that adapted his work into feature-length drama. Flash forward to 1971, when CBS adapted this work once again into their television film The Homecoming: A Christmas Story. Following the film's success, the network ordered a one-season series based on its characters. This series, The Waltons, premiered in 1972 and went on to air for another 9 seasons. NBC subsequently aired 3 TV film sequels to The Waltons in 1982, and CBS ended up putting out 3 more in the 90s. And even though you've probably never met anyone pining for a reboot of The Waltons, the CW apparently has, because they announced they will be airing a new remake of the 1971 Homecoming film on their network, not once, but twice. Join Factsverse as we take a look at this fresh new remake. We'll also see what some of the original cast members of The Waltons have to say about this redo. The plot in a nutshell. The storyline of this holiday remake is fairly simple. We know so far the film will be set in Depression-era rural Virginia in 1933. The characters featured in the film are the members of the struggling Waltons family, consisting of Ma, Pa, and their 6 kids. The nearby mill near their family home was shut down, leaving John Walton, portrayed by Ben Lawson, to have to work in a mill 90 miles away to feed his family. The film will be focusing on John's admirable efforts to return home just in time for Christmas as he contends with a looming snowstorm that threatens to thwart his plans. The new incarnation of the classic TV film retains much of the spirit and endearing qualities of the original that made it such a hit. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse for more, and stick around for more about the Waltons. Motivation for bringing the Waltons back. The film's executive producer, Sam Haskell, noted that no one could have anticipated what was going to happen to this country as a result of the pandemic. A year ago, Haskell won an Emmy for his touching Netflix musical holiday special, Christmas on the Square, starring Dolly Parton. He went on to explain the COVID-19 pandemic forced people to look inside themselves and rediscover the true meaning of family. It was that introspection that inspired him to take on this latest Waltons project to not only draw in original fans of the series, who are now parents and grandparents of their own, but also to introduce a new generation of kids and younger viewers to the wholesome family that many grew up looking to for guidance. Haskell himself was a teen when the Waltons premiered on network television. He remembers tuning in on Thursday nights, rushing to the living room whenever he and his sibling would hear the show's iconic theme song. He describes the show as a mainstay of his life, so he feels honored that Warner Brothers has teamed up with him to take on this new, nostalgic project. The film is a big departure for the CW, which has, in recent years, geared most of its programming to a younger audience, with offerings like The Flash and Riverdale. Acclaimed director Lev Spiro, best known for his work on shows like Weeds and Arrested Development, was attracted to the ideals of the script, seeing an opportunity to put out something that had strong humanistic values. Casting choices. What characters are returning and who isn't? Haskell selected 2 cast members with relatively big names because they were personal friends. Bellamy Young, best known for her work on Scandal, will be playing Olivia Walton, while No Strings Attached star Ben Lawson was chosen to play John Walton. Lawson had previously appeared in Haskell's Netflix offering Dolly Parton's Heartstrings, which was also shot in the Atlanta area. Haskell was impressed by Logan Schroyer's performance in This Is Us and cast him as the eldest Walton son and inspiring writer John Boy. Haskell later found out by a stroke of luck that Schroyer was in fact close friends of Richard Thomas, the actor who originally played John Boy in the 70s series. Haskell even managed to convince the now 70-year-old Thomas to appear in the new film by serving as narrator. And it wasn't that hard to schedule, seeing as how Thomas was already in Atlanta filming Netflix's Ozark. The remainder of the cast is largely comprised of actors from the Southeast, many of whom call Atlanta their home. Alpha Trivette, who previously hosted the B98.5 morning radio show, scored the role of Grandpa Walton. Trivette said he'd been unconsciously preparing for this role for his life. He further explained he had grown up in rural Virginia and his parents grew up during the Great Depression. Now that he's a grandparent himself, the role has even more meaning. Christian Finlayson, an actor from Atlanta, plays the second eldest Walton son and aspiring musician Jason. According to him, the comradeship that audiences see on screen is the real deal. He says during the couple of weeks the film was in production, the cast and crew grew to be a real family. So it wasn't difficult to bring that to the table when the cameras were rolling. He did admit he wasn't that familiar with the series prior to landing the role. His only previous exposure to the Waltons was hearing a joke on Family Guy that referenced the line, "Good night, John Boy." After auditioning, he finally understood what it was all about. In the original book the Waltons was based on, there were 8 children, but when the novel was adapted into a TV show, it was reduced to 7. In addition to Schroyer, Young, and Finlayson, Marcel LeBlanc will play Mary Ellen, Samuel Georgian will play Jim Bob, Callaway Corrick will play Elizabeth, and Michael Kendall Kaplan will play Toby. But one child notably missing is little Ben Walton. Haskell explained he chose to nix Ben because he didn't want to have to bring in another actor just to deliver mundane lines of dialogue asking about when his father is coming home or something like that. Budget and time constraints necessitated some cuts. Not only will Ben Walton be absent, but Haskell says the ending of the movie will be somewhat altered from the original. In the original film, Olivia's friend was played by R&B singer Marilyn McCoo. She portrayed a preacher's wife at a black church where the Waltons ultimately spend their Christmas in the 1971 film. The events leading up to this celebration will be different in the new film. It's still very important for Haskell, however, for both black and white churchgoers to be present in the film's triumphant final scenes. The original film had a scene where Olivia explained to her youngest daughter why churches are segregated. But in the new film, a line is added that emphasizes that all people, regardless of their skin color, are welcome in God's house. Haskell feels the new line is better than the original dialogue in this powerful scene. Filming in summer presented unique obstacles. The film is set during Christmas time with snow blanketing every locale, but in reality, the filming took place this past summer in Atlanta when temps were in the 80s and 90s. Spiro and Haskell had to constantly remind the cast to employ proper body language to account for the cold, such as hunching their bodies and shivering. Finlayson mentioned that the actors had to don thick wool coats, and this was particularly uncomfortable considering how hot they were. But he recalled a scene he did with John Boy when the two boys got into a snowball fight where he rubbed the snow in his face. Finlayson said that particular scene was actually pretty refreshing. Haskell has now made 5 films set in winter, all of which were shot during Georgia's summer months. These include 2015's Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors and its follow-up film, Christmas of Many Colors. His crew has artfully deployed snow mats, mashed potato flakes, paper shavings, and shaved ice, as well as CGI, to make the film look convincing. To prevent the actors from developing heat stroke, he had them wear specially designed bodysuits that made use of ice pack inserts underneath their winter coats. Now it's time to hear from you. Were you a fan of the original Waltons television show? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.